here we are, the month of March, which is a rough sketch that I've already done on paper. I took a photo with the iPad, and now I'm ready to do the line art on the iPad. So I will add a new layer. And first of all, I'm going to put my sketch layer, I click on the N here, and bring the opacity way down. That way I can see my lines a little clearer. I go to this circle here, and I have my palette here. I'm going to go for the darkest color and then go further down, almost totally black. For my brush, I'm using a rusty pencil, which comes in the brush library of Procreate. I'm going to make sure that the opacity is all the way up and that my size is to number 5, which is, I believe, I'm going to up it a bit because these birds are a little bit bigger than the previous pictures I've drawn. I can now get started. I have make sure I'm working on the right layer. If you want, you can always take your sketch layer, slide it to the left and lock it. That way I'm sure that I won't be drawing on it, which I make mistakes sometimes, and I continue to do that. All right, so as I also shared in my previous videos, for my rough sketch for our birds, basically it's an oval here, an oval for the wings, oval for the eyes, a triangle for the beak, and a triangle or cone shape for the tail. And then the feet will be, again, little triangles, little lines down, and little ovals. All right, so that's the basic shapes for our bird. Now we're going to delete that layer. I'm going to do the line art. Sometimes I can do it in one go, and it's not perfect. Don't worry. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make my pencil down to 5 or 7 or 5. Sometimes I try things out. If it's not exactly the way that I want, then I'm free to change it. I'm not totally happy with that shape. Sometimes I can do it in one go. Other times I will give it a pause because my hand is tired, or I'm not at the right angle for the curve. And because this style is very cutesy, rough, not perfect, I'm okay with even sometimes fixing it up like this, going over it again to make it the right shape that I want. My little tail, I use 3 little curved lines. Again, my imaginary oval is here. I'm going to just change it slightly. I don't know, like that, maybe for fun. Sometimes I alter it when I'm doing the sketch. And I will do my little triangle feet. Actually, it's more his legs, isn't it? And then here are his feet. Which these ones we don't really see the triangle part because they're behind. Eraser, I can erase this part. Okay, we have the first little birdie. Birdie 1. Birdie 2 will be on a different layer. Sometimes I do all the line art on one layer, but in case I want to use my art for something else down the line, and I know that this picture won't have that many layers, I'm going to take this one off so that I can see where to draw, continue to draw his head. So the reason sometimes I make them on separate layers is because out of the blue, I come up with another project idea for my picture. Whether it's for a piece of clip art, or maybe I just want to add one of the little birds to the rest of my page. It's a lot easier to do it when it's on its own layer. Again, I'm going to go a little, change my wings up a little oval eyes. Okay, his feet. Making them a little bit longer than they were. I'm going to go ahead and erase this little part because this leg is on top. Okay, we have our second bird done. I'm going to hide that layer by clicking on this little box, and I'm going to do a plus for a new layer. Now we can do our third little bird. So if I'm not on the, I know I'm not going to get my oval quite right. I turn my paper around as if it were my paper. I think when you draw, you kind of work that way too. You have a preference. Okay, my straight lines work better either vertical or horizontal. We each have our preference or the way that we're used to work, which is what I like about the iPad. It's so easy to move around. It's not like a computer screen. I leave a little opening there to show that maybe I'll add a little piece of the, I don't know if that's necessary. Maybe just that part. A little bit long, and I need space for both of them. Okay, I can erase this little part again. Sometimes I do it in a different color, but I will put the brush down a size a bit, a tiny bit more. I like making these little details. It adds a little pattern, adds a little cuteness. Okay, now for this bird, let's show him again. And our top bird, bring it back. Oh, make sure I'm on the right one before I start drawing. Otherwise I'll have a sad surprise. All right, we have our little bird sketched. I'm going to go right over my sketch layer and do a new one for these little flags in the back, making sure that my brush size is back to 5 as previous. For this project, I've been working with the same pencil, same size as well, except for the little details. So for the little details in my triangles, I'll probably go for a smaller size, brush size. We're having a lot of triangles in this picture. The little beaks, the little legs, and these little flags. Moving on, I'm going to do another layer for my little ribbon, or my little banner, and the text. So for the month of March, I guess I did kind of like a playful theme, maybe. So after I've done my 2 parallel lines for the banner, I just eyeball the middle, the center, and I can easily draw my lines. Again here, I eyeball the center as best I can because I'm not going for perfection. Otherwise I would measure it to a T. But this style is just very loose, very organic. And for my text, it's very minimalistic, as you can see. Very simple. Maybe a little cutish. All right, that's my text layer. And another one for our little decor here. I'd like to move it, so I'm going to go to my sketch, slide it and unlock it because I want to move this part just to make it a little, oops, didn't catch the whole thing. So I'm going to take the arrow, I select it with this tool, and then I'll move it to the side here. It's just easier for me to access as I draw it even more, because it's just going to be a little piece of decor that I can add to the side of my page or to the top of my page. And I'll make a new layer. Is that the new layer? That's my triangle. So I'll make a new one on top for my little piece of decor. The lines again are kind of very rough, even a little curvy at parts, because I like going for the hand-drawn look in this picture with the whole little series actually. So feel free to check out my other videos the other months. case you've missed one, or in case it's that time of year that you like to plan your month ahead or look back on your previous month. Add some little gratitudes, some little favorite quotes. And I'm creating for myself a little monthly planner with these. So you can do that too if you'd like. I have a page per month, and this is just my little intro page, my little decor page. I like to give it each month a little theme. So this month of March is kind of like fun and party. I make it something meaningful for me or related to something in my life. So it's my husband's birthday that month, and we also celebrate our anniversary, so it's party time. All right, so I think we're almost done here with our line art. I'm just going to go to the flag again. Let me make sure I have the right layer. I'm going to change my brush size for my smaller details like I did with the birds. Okay, that's a good one. Making sure, yes, I'm on the right layer. And I will go ahead and add the little shapes and decor on the flag. I kind of changed this one around, didn't I? Which is okay. Go with the flow, go with your intuition at the moment. If you want to change the patterns, if you want to change the size, if you want to add in your own patterns, feel free to do that too. This one is blank because it's behind the birdie anyways. And here I have some other little circles again. Polka dots. I think polka dots makes everything cute. And here I'm going to just change the pattern a bit and make some double lines instead. And we're going to end here with a little flower pattern. And you can add in the little dot in the middle. I like to add in a few petals on the side as if another flower was starting in place, and kind of fills it up. Let's see what this looks like by taking off our sketch layer. Hey, I like it. So congratulations, you completed the line art part of this project. Moving on to our colors. I've done a little planning beforehand so I can be fully prepared for you today. And I've chosen from my palette, a few colors that I will use for this picture. So I'm just going to go back and forth with this layer to remind myself of the colors that I've chosen. So to get started, we have all our line art layers. I'm going to delete the sketch layer from our previous lesson. I'm going to go here to this dot to find my palette. So here's my palette set for this project. And I can either choose my colors from here, or I can choose my layer and hold down on the color that you want, and it automatically puts it here for you. I'm only coloring the birds in this picture because I'm sticking with the style of making it very simple, very minimalistic. So I chose my yellow color already from this layer, but as you can see, it's very rough. I'm going to find my little bird that needs a yellow color. Let's see, there he is, and I'm gonna make a new layer under that one. That way my lines are always seen on top of it. I'm going to up my brush stroke and start coloring. So sometimes I'll do just the whole outline like this. And I like these real organic strokes of the pencil. Maybe make it a little bit smaller for the smaller sections of the picture. So I've just chosen a few colors to work for me with this palette. I'm just going to go and make my beak white. There we go. All right, moving on, I'm going to check out my layer. Again, point onto that wait a second, and it gives me the color that I need. It's quite a dark color, so I'm thinking to move my circle here and make it a little bit lighter. So I'm going to make a layer under him and start coloring. Okay, since my brush size is small from the last one, don't know if you notice here, but here his feet are behind the yellow bird. So I'd like to change that because I want his feet to go in front. So I'm going to take the line art layer and the color layer that I'm on. If you want to move 2 layers at once, you just slide it to the right and you move it up like this. There we go. So now I can go back to my coloring his feet on top of the yellow bird. And I will do the outline with my smaller stroke, my smaller brush size. I can up it a bit. I was doing the really small ones for the little feet. And when you have a bigger sized object, you can go with a bigger brush, just as if you were doing paint brushing. For this brush, what I like about it is the harder I push, the thicker it goes, and the lighter I push, the thinner it goes. So sometimes it's practical, especially when you're going from thick to thin to thick again. It depends how. Here I can make it as light, as thin as I want, and as thick as I want. And I can also up the size. There we go, our little birdie. I'm not sure if I want his feet colored, so I think I'm going to make them white. So what helps is to change my background color when that happens. I make it a gray. See, as you can see, I missed some part. Oops, I want it white, not the eraser. If I get too close here, it switches to the eraser mode. And his beak as well. That way, if I ever need to move him around, I don't have to worry about where I move him. And I think I'm going to go the same with this birdie. I will make his little feet. All right, moving on to our last bird. I'm going to pick the color. You make it a tiny bit lighter, since I made the other one lighter as well. And let me check. Okay, he's here, so I'm going to go under there and make a new layer. And take off this layer, otherwise I can't see what I'm doing. When picking colors, it helps me to have a palette already planned out. Sometimes, actually. Sometimes I like having a color palette to work with, like I'm doing with this project, just because it's a full project, it's not just one picture. But very often when I'm doing just one picture, I almost prefer leaving it to inspiration or intuition and pick the colors that I feel at the moment. I don't know, but to me it's even more creative. Don't always have to have things planned to a T when you're an artist. Okay, so I want the color and the line art, so I'm going to move it to the side like that, pick it up with my hand and put him underneath the yellow one. There we go, now the feet are right in place. And we have our little birdies, all colored. The rest of my coloring is very simple, minimalistic, and just, I put some circles around, that's it. So I'm going to make a new layer for that. I can put it anywhere I want, really. I'll just put it over this one. And I'll take the colors that I used already. So for the dark one, I made it a little lighter. And I'm just going to color over it. But I'm working on a new layer. Your circles can be anywhere. You don't have to, I didn't plan that out. I just kind of like, as if they were just confetti thrown all over the place. I'm taking my light blue. Sometimes I'm even changing the size. I want this one a little bigger, this one a little smaller. I like just the random look. And I think it's, as you know me, I just add polka dots almost to every picture. And I'm even going to add another one here. Alright, going to my yellows. Add one here. I can't tell what I'm coloring because it's so close to the other one. So if you want to change the opacity, you just click on the N and you can move it like this. Okay, it's good. I've colored it fully. I can still see, oops, I'm on the wrong layer. I can still see where I want the circles. Little one here, bigger one here. I can go look back. Do I have enough yellow ones? I like kind of evening them out all over the place. Maybe a small one here. Alright, I think this looks good. Now, final, let's put our background color back to white. And we can see the end result, how it looks. Hey, I'm happy with it. I hope you are too. That was our little coloring part of this class. Moving on to the last part of our class is adding some shadows. So I'm going to go to my color picker and add a light gray all the way here to the left side. Then I'm going to go on top of each of my colors, add a new layer. So this, I know I'm working with this top bird. I'm going to add a new layer and I click on the N and I find multiply. Because I'm going to add a little bit of shadow, a little bit of shades to my birdie. So all I'm doing is adding a few little pencil strokes as if it were a pencil, where I would like a little bit of shading to go. So here I want a little feathered look, so I'm going to add it underneath each of these little strokes. I'm going to add a little bit to the corners, underneath my wing, and just little lines and dots. Here for the tail, I'm just going to add a little bit to the back, to the part of the tail that goes behind. For the foot, I add a little bit to the back foot. Actually, I make it almost all gray. And this one just a little bit at the bottom, and this one behind. And it just adds a little something to my picture. I don't know what you think, but I think it's cute. I might even add a few little lines like that. Top. Alright, I like it. I'm going to go on to my yellow bird, add a new layer, click on the N and choose the multiply option. And again, I do the same, kind of make a little shadow for my beak, kind of makes it a little roundish looking, tiny bit on behind the eyes, and underneath the little wing shapes here, little upside down, or little U's for upside down, little half ovals. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to the back of my birdie's wings. I like just the little strokes that look like it could be pencil. Here I'm going to add a little bit here because it's behind. This bird is behind as well. This foot, I mean. So I'm going to make it totally gray. That way this one stands out a little bit more. Another thing I like to do is, because this bird has his friend on top, he will have a little shadow on top of his head. I make it really look kind of hand-colored, organic, and on the tail a little bit like this. I think that little shadow, little shading can change the whole picture. That's why I often call it the cherry on top of the cake. Alright, if I wanted to add a few little strokes on the top, like I did the last bird, I can do that too if I want. Moving on to our next bird, I go to it and I do a plus for a new layer, and I'm going to multiply it. This time this wing can be almost all gray as well because it's quite a bit in the back. I start out by doing a straight line here, for example, and then the further I go, the lighter it gets. So the less strokes I use. A little bit under the eye and under each little feather shape. Just kind of makes it stand out a little more, I think. Tail, just a few little strokes here, here. I want some here. And this foot is in the back. This one I'll just do a little bit on the bottom there. And I think we're done with our little birdies. I'm not sure if I want any more shading anywhere else. Let me find my triangles. Okay, this is the triangles. I'm going to just try and see what it looks like. Adding a new layer, just in case I don't want it and I want to erase it easily. I'm going to try a little corner shading like this. Maybe it makes my triangle, the little flags, look like they're a little bit more shapely. Oh, and I forgot on my little blue bird, I'm going to add a little shadow underneath as well from the yellow bird on top. And if I want to, I can even give him a little drop shadow underneath. The circles, I'm just going to leave them like that because they're just confetti. They're flat. And there we have, if you want to see the difference, let's look at this bird. See, just a tiny little bit of shadow to me makes such a difference. Oh, I want to add their little pattern on top of their beaks, like I did with the others. Well, there we have it. Our cute little month of March picture. Now for the last little bitty part of this drawing, we're going to add a little highlight. So on top of my multiplied layer, I'm going to add a new layer, and this time I'm going to change it overlay. So when you take it off, you'll see the overlay. And I'm going to pick a white. So this is the layer for my little bluebird. I might need to lower the opacity a little bit. And I'm just going to make just a little stroke. I'm following the U shape. So let me see what I prefer. Yeah, maybe I prefer this. That way I have the shadow underneath and a little highlight on the top. Kind of makes them stand out a bit. I'm going to make my brush size bigger for this one. And I'm going to add, maybe lower the opacity and add a little highlight here on the wing. So you can see it makes it just stand out a little bit more. And maybe I'll add a little bit to the top here. It kind of makes it cute. Maybe I'm going to add a little line here. So I kind of put my highlights in the opposite side of the shadows, depending on where the light is coming from. So here I have the light coming from this side. Again, with cartoons, it's not so important that I abide by the rules. I just kind of add my highlights where I think it's cute. All right, so there we have our highlights for the little bluebird. Now that I'm done the highlights and the shading, I can pinch these 3 layers together, which merges them together. And I still have my separate line art if I want. Now to the yellow bird, I'm going to make a new layer and again change it to overlay. It's still on my white. And I'm going to add, maybe make it a little bit smaller, my brush stroke, a little bit bigger. Need to find a happy medium here. Again, follow the lines. Add a little bit of highlight. Actually, I'm going for this one, since the light of this bird is coming from this side, so we're going to kind of follow the same for this. Now that one is underneath. So as you can see, I'm kind of doing it just what I think would look good, even if it's not totally perfect or up to standard as far as the rules of shading and lighting. And you're free to do so as well. Little highlight here. Could always put a little highlight on his belly, but maybe up here is enough. And I had put before a little bit more in the middle here. Kind of makes the wing look a little rounded. Add a little bit like that. There we go. So if you notice, without it, it makes a big difference, even though it doesn't seem like we drew very much. So again, I will pinch and merge these three together. Moving on to my last bird. Again, a new layer on top of the shadings, and I will put overlay. Since I'm still on the wide brush, I kind of do this part first. And maybe here as well. So of course with the darker colors you'll see that it stands out even more. So I'm being very careful to not push my pencil down too hard, because otherwise, if you notice, look, the more I push down, the thicker the line goes, and sometimes the darker. I actually didn't make it darker this time. I'm going to put it down a little and just miss my very thin highlight here. And I think we have it. Now we are totally finished. Again, let's see with and without. We're ready to merge our three layers, and there you have your little finalized March picture.